My new favorite YouTuber is back. She's Courtney Ryan. She's talking about a reality check for single men and women.
Back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today we are reacting to a TikTok that honestly was refreshing for me to hear, so I think it could be for a lot of you as well. A lot of content online is pretty doom and gloom or just highlights problems or negatives rather than positives and solutions, and I think it's important to make sure we keep a healthy balance of both. So let's watch this together, and I'd like to share some thoughts with you after, per usual. Bye.
Yeah, you have to embrace the positive and the negative in life. I preach the power of positivity. Well, I don't preach it, but I bring it up. It is important. You need to stay positive and have a positive vibe and believe that you can have a positive outcome or you'll never have that outcome. But you have to also embrace that negativity is real, that criticism is important, that it's a you need that to be able to grow. You need to be able to see what is negative and exist in it and be able to criticize yourself and to others, maybe not like to them, maybe not outright communicate that to people, but you need to understand it, understand what you like and what you don't like and why.
Before we watch, big thanks to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Factor makes meeting your nutrition goals easier than ever by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian approved meals right to your doorstep.
Unhappy, and everybody is not headed for divorce. Everybody is not in the middle of some type of drama in their marriage or relationship, and everybody is not being cheated on. Like,
Ooh, I see a lot of posts like that from women where they complain. They're like, all men are cheaters, all men are terrible, all this horrible stuff. And it's like, well, why are you going for these like unemployed drug dealer guys who are already hooking up with like multiple women at a time when you like met them? Why did you think that behavior would stop?
there are some men
And that's a crazy, like, that's a small minority of men. Stop going for that kind of man.
and women that are good and faithful. There are husbands that cannot wait to get home to their wives, and they're not out here trying to bed everything that moves. Their wife is good enough for them. She's enough for them. And there are some women that cannot wait to cook for, clean for, and serve their husbands, and they love everything about him. Just because you have not seen it for yourself or experienced it, or maybe because you've had bad experiences, does not mean that good, loving relationships are not true and not real.
Yeah, that's important. And that's goes into the positivity. You have to believe that there are people out there who are like this, and there genuinely are. They're out there. They're hard to find because usually they're not messing around with dumb, quasi empty, going nowhere relationships. They're looking for the real deal, and they need to pick up that energy off the person that they're dating. So they're out there. They're not necessarily easy to find, but they are out there.
You just haven't come across one yet. You just haven't had one yet. And since people are so bold right now about trying to prove that good men and women don't exist, that happy marriages are fake, since people are so bold about it, I challenge those of you that are blessed enough to be in amazing relationships to be loud about it. You don't have to dumb down. Share your don't hide your happy. I'm not hiding my happy. And in this season, if
I think it's not that people are hiding they're happy. It's that they don't care to share it because they're busy doing other stuff. They're doing positive, productive stuff. And I get it. I guess it would be positive to share that, but they're busy. They're being productive. They got good stuff going on, so they're not worried about the attitudes of stupid other people on social media, right? These people who post all this negative stuff, they're always in like this terrible drama, this awful relationship. Their opinions are the least important. They're the most immediately laughed at and disregarded opinions that you see online. Because if you're constantly in drama and constantly posting about it, I'm sorry, but no one around you takes you seriously. Everyone is laughing at you. If you've ever posted a relationship drama of any kind as an adult, you're a clown.
Me being happy agitates you? You
Because those are issues that you should be dealing with on a personal level or like only with your close friends. Not like, you know, not Stacy, who you went to high school with, needs to know about your crazy relationship where you got your boyfriend slapped you in the face because you, for some reason, only date like drug dealers.
you might want to unfollow me in this season because I'm not hiding my happy.
But a lot of people do that. Well, lunatics do
See,
that.
wasn't that just a feel good, positive, uplifting video? I'm in the holiday spirit. I'm really trying to spread joy in this season. So I hope that that all made you feel a little bit hopeful and better.
That's exactly the energy every person needs to be bringing to a relationship. Is that calm, positive energy? Because if you're dating anybody, you have to have an end goal in mind. You have to be able to see the relationship ending up in this positive, awesome place. It's so hilariously outrageous when these people who I was just talking about, where they're constantly in drama, they're constantly talking about how they're in some kind of serious relationship drama all the time. It seems like at all times that these people will say, oh, well, that person, this person I'm dating and keep getting back together with, they're a master manipulator. Oh, they were perfect. When things were good, it was perfect. It's like, no, things were never perfect with this like piece of human trash you were with. This garbage person who couldn't have possibly been good. Couldn't have been anything close to perfect at any point. They're like a flawed, awful, terrible person. Any reasonable person would pick that up in 2 seconds. So it's so funny to see these things like, oh, this person was perfect, but then, turns out they were secretly really bad, and that's because they're a master manipulator. They're some kind of genius manipulator. I'm sorry, but if this person's a genius manipulator, they're so brilliant, and they were able to like, it was such an epic feat of mastermindness to manipulate you. It's like, no, you're actually really dumb and frequently manipulated by partners, and this person manipulating you is also really, really dumb. Or else they probably have something going on in their life. They want to be spending their genius, their brilliance to manipulate some like sketchy woman.
About life and about people and about dating. It did for me. With that being said, the first thing I want to talk about is that there are good people and good relationships. And what she says is so true. Just because you haven't seen it, maybe through watching other people's relationships in your life, whether that be your parents or your friends, or maybe you've had bad experiences yourself, that doesn't mean that good, loving relationships aren't real.
I think a lot of people also will discredit other people's relationships, and people will discredit their own relationships that they've had because they hyper focus on like just a small handful of negative aspects. Like, oh, this person didn't do this, this, and this. And it's like three of the smallest things ever. And you're like, really? Like, that matters to you? That's ridiculous. There's like 300 things more important than those things you just mentioned that you just completely overlooked. So, a lot of people, as they evaluate or lacked or fail to evaluate their relationships they've had, they often do that kind of crap where they're like, oh, well, this person did this one thing that really annoyed me. And that's how they perceive the entire relationship.
They are real, I promise. There are men and women out there who are looking for the same things that you are, who want to be in a healthy, happy relationship, who are working so hard on themselves and trying to be the kind of partner that the person they want to be with would want to be with too. I see this every day in my comment section and my DMs from both men and women. I see it firsthand. Now, I see the opposite side too. I see the negatives, but I see the positives. So as much as I believe it's important to call out poor behavior and to highlight things that, men and women could improve on.
It's I believe in that too, but it's how you do it. It's how you go about it. And I find that oftentimes people go about it in the worst possible way. They do it in this like complainy, negative, um, non-teamwork oriented way, where just simply being positive and solution oriented, results oriented would make the world of difference. It would make it so much more impactful and meaningful, right? Like if I tell you you didn't get those apples to the store or from the store or whatever, it would be, if I was going to bring that up to somebody, I'd be like, hey, I wouldn't be like, oh, you did this or you didn't do this. I'd be like, all right, let's go grab those apples and bring them here. I'll help you. Like to present it, to bring it up in a way that's just loaded with negativity and toxicity. It's just so unnecessary when you could just be positive, be results oriented, find a solution yourself, move forward.
I think it's also important to acknowledge the things that we're doing well too. To acknowledge the fact that there are good people and good relationships out there as well. And this is one of the many bones to pick that I have with the internet. This is this whole being chronically online and being chronically negative thing. I think people often go to extremes. They go to one extreme or the other, and they don't find a balance in the middle, and they don't leave room for nuance, and they don't leave room for the human experience. And again, they really resort to the extremes. And I know why. I know exactly why. It's what gets views, it's what gets clicks, it's what gets people fired up, it's what makes a video go viral.
Oh yeah, like Fresh and Fit is a great example where they they're as abrasive as they possibly can be because it will get clipped, it'll get views. It's meaningless. It's pointless. They have they'll end up having the same arguments with people who are the same types of people again and again, but it gets views, it sells.
It's what gets you that money. As a creator, I have watched this firsthand. But for viewers, if you're someone who's chronically online consuming this negative content, that's going to impact your worldview. That's going to impact the way that you view dating, relationships, men, women. The content that you consume is important. The people you follow, the people you look up to, the people you view as a role model is so important.
Oh yeah, a good example of that is Hassan Piker. He is like loaded with negativity and like he's just completely like judgmental and ridiculous. And that's terrible. That's absolutely the last um role model you should ever have, is somebody who is constantly going to extremes one way or the other. It's just you have to have an extreme viewpoint on absolutely everything, and every viewpoint you have has to tie into some other viewpoint, and everyone's either extremely one way or extremely the other. There can be no in between. We have to have conflict. We have to divide each other this way or that way or the other. And it's so like negativity, and it's so negative and toxic and absurd. And since she's talking about role models, I'll talk about mine. It's actually a content creator who has been around a long time. You've probably heard of them, but they've been not uploading consistently for years and years now. And that's a guy who fell into some controversy, but he didn't let it define him, right? It was already after he had harshly reduced his amount of content output anyway, and it was a bit of a talking point for a little bit. Like it was newsworthy. Several people covered it. I think like even Keemstar covered it. But that content creator is Shay Carl of the Shay Tards vlog, of the Carl channel. So he's an early YouTuber who was basically the first person to do family vlogs, right? So really a pioneer. A lot of the implications, a lot of the icky stuff about family vlogs, it's hard to really apply it to him because he was the first. He just did it before anybody else did it. So he didn't have himself and the other first batch of people to go off of to see like the negative impacts. And he also never thought it would be the focus of his content or it would be as popular as it was. Because from the beginning, initially, his videos were about weight loss, about just journaling himself as a guy who was like turning 30 years old. He wanted to do a video diary of every day from when he turned 29 to when he turned 30. He obviously like kind of failed, like certain days he couldn't come up with video ideas. It was never meant to be about his kids, and he also like had more kids throughout his time as a vlogger. But that's just kind of like his overall content. So a lot of people who like bash him, it's because they either have a problem with like family vlogging content, which is just existing in so much negativity. Like, yeah, there's a lot of scummy family vloggers and it is kind of exploitative, but you know, they're multimillionaires and they don't even make like the Shatars, they don't even like make content that often at all anymore. So that exploitative aspect I don't think is a fair criticism. But he also got into controversy because he was like disloyal to his wife. He ended up like chatting up this cam girl and it turned into this whole thing, which it's fair to criticize him for that, but to act like he's like this horrible, terrible, hypocritical person is ridiculous. Because yeah, he's a religious guy, but he's not also a religious guy who was willing to move to LA, and he's never been judgmental towards like people who he lived amongst, including like gay people, all kinds of people from all walks of life, right? The guy's incredibly open-minded and intelligent and revolutionary. Like the guy pioneered vlogging. He's like the first vlogger on the site YouTube. That's crazy. He literally started it all. But that's not why I see him as like an idol. It's because of his ideology. It's because of what he's about, what his focus of his content was always about, was him navigating through life as an adult, as a father, um, and as a husband. Now, obviously, he stumbled pretty hard as a husband, but we didn't even see that. They were barely even uploading videos at that point. If people make mistakes, right? Like, I don't know. I just don't think him DMing this cam girl was that big of a deal. Like it was greasy, but most people do far greasier stuff in their life than that. And it's important because the things that that guy says are insanely positive. He literally talks about like happiness and what it means to be happy and how you can make yourself have a happier life. And he's helped so many people and touched so many lives, just provided so much positivity and like something to look up to. Literally, there's a song that another content creator talked about, an entire song dedicated to how positive this guy is. I think it was called like Shay Carl and the Shaytards. It was awesome. And it's so true. And who you choose as your idol is super important because a lot of people out there who people look up to, we live in this time of celebrity culture where and these celebrities are just as meaningless as they've ever been, right? Like you have the Cash Me Outside girl from Dr. Phil. She's like one of the biggest celebrities like in America for being really dumb and talking with an extreme amount of slang on the Dr. Phil show. For being really disrespectful on the Dr. Phil show. This is one of the top celebrities, and we live in a time of like so much celebrity worship. That's disgusting. The person is disgusting.
I think people don't realize the impact of this. And of course, I think people are often more bold about what they don't like, the negatives, the bad experiences, instead of what they do like, or the positives, or the good experiences. And again, I can tell you firsthand just from the performance of my own content. Typically, the more negative videos, things like red flags, reacting to a controversial video, sometimes I have to play into the game a little bit to get views. This is my livelihood here.
I feel you. I feel you there so hard. So far, some of the best content I get, some of the most views, are literally me reacting to Courtney Ryan when she's talking about like kind of the negative aspects, right, of dating. Literally, she made a video, a really good one, where she talks about like the 20 or 34 biggest turn-ons for women. I think that's one of the most important videos to watch of hers, right? And my reaction to it got like double digit views, like 30 something views, I think, or maybe not even 30. Whereas another video where I react to Courtney Ryan, reacted to the same content creator, I might have even used the same thumbnail, but just it's about something different. Something where it's about like a woman getting rejected or something negative, and it's got like 2,000 plus views. Whereas her talking about what are the biggest turn-ons for these women, it's actually like way more informative. You would get more out of watching that than you would get out of watching this video about something negative. And it's about something positive, right? It's like turn-ons. It's just, it's funny how that is, how people are like that. And I don't know if the YouTube algorithm has something to do with it, but yeah, you're definitely going to get way more views talking about negative crap.
But if you watch the content of my video, I think it's often a bit different than sometimes what the thumbnail or the title might make you think when you click on it. But that's because I want to get people in here and give them a different perspective. When you watch my video of who has it worse in dating, single men or single women, maybe you clicked on it expecting me to pander and grift and to reinforce your horrible beliefs about women and say that, oh, men have it so much worse. But I didn't do that. I think I gave a really balanced, logical perspective and shared both sides as
I did not watch that video, but I could totally agree. I don't even know what she says in the video, what her um final point is. But I would say men have it better. Men definitely have it better, right? Like think about how men are, how society is, how men and women are different. Oh my God, do men ever have it easy, right? Like people don't get married anymore. Men aren't expected to make these like serious, deep, immediate, major commitments before like having what men want out of relationships typically. Just, and it's so much more easy. It's so much less effort. Think about historically, like, and like Jordan Peterson apparently mentions this, where people used to like go to these events, like these things happening in your town, in your city, stuff going on. People would go out and socialize a lot more in past decades, whereas they don't really do that. I think that actually makes it way easier for men. Way easier. For two reasons. Well, one, because there's less face to face social interactions between men and women, it makes it so when they do occur, those interactions leading to something, whether it be dating or what have you, are more likely, right? Because they happen less frequently, and we all understand that they happen less frequently. We might not consciously, actively think about it in that sense, like, oh, I should be more outgoing to people in person or more open to having this lead to a friendship or a dating. But you do subconsciously, whether you mean to or not, whether you notice or not, subconsciously you do kind of think like, oh, this is kind of nice interacting with somebody face to face. This doesn't happen too often.
try to do. Now, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. All right, I've done things in the past.
And the like anonymity and a man has to use so much less resources. Like you don't have to drive all around as much anymore. You don't have to put in all this effort. You don't have to like seek out all these social interactions because they're right there on your phone. They're right there on your computer. It's so much easier. like men are naturally that like kind of like hunter, um moving forward, actively pursuing whatever they are pursuing mindset. And it's so much everything is made so much easier with phones and the internet.
that didn't land the way that I wanted them to, so I've stopped doing them. I'm protecting my peace these days. Everything comes with a price, and if it costs you your peace, it costs too much.
And it's more convenient for women too. And what Courtney Ryan is saying here, if it costs you your peace, it costs too much. Yeah, like don't give like negative comments anytime. Don't care about what other people think.
That's what I've learned making content. But anyway, often the negative, controversial videos perform way better than the positive or refreshing ones do. I did videos about habits that destroy relationships, and then I did another video about habits that build healthy relationships. Which one do you think did better? The one about habits that destroy relationships. Why? Because of negativity bias. And it makes sense. This is an attempt to protect ourselves and keep ourselves safe, but it can also lead us down a dangerous path if we don't realize that we're doing it. If you're someone who is constantly consuming negative content that's trying to convince you that all men or all women are bad, that happy marriages don't exist and you should never get married, you should never have a relationship, you should never talk to women, or whatever it is.
Yeah, those people are ridiculous, and it's just going to breed more negativity. It's just going to get you down. It's going to convince you that things will not go well for you, and it's going to give you excuses to not even try. This type of content is terrible to consume on a frequent basis. You should be consuming it ironically. You should be watching it and laughing at it. I did a video on the Whatever podcast about how they claim to be about talking about dating, having these conversations about dating, opening a dialogue about dating. This is important content. This is allowing men and women to finally talk to each other about dating. And it's like always this 40-year-old guy, this guy Brian, and he's just talking to like anywhere from like 3 to 12, 20-year-old women. They're always like fresh out of high school, or maybe they're like in college. They don't know what they're doing with their life. They just party. They're just there to get more like Instagram followers. They don't give a crap about any of the topics that they're talking about. They haven't thought about any of these topics in any kind of detail. They're not prepared to have a conversation about it on the podcast. And they don't care to have a well thought out argument. They don't need to. They don't they don't have the experience to draw from. So why would they have a well thought out statement to make? And the host asks these like really leading questions that lend themselves to these women having like dumb responses. And he'll like sit there and talk about stuff like, oh, like feminism ruined dating, blah 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 blah. And these women will be like, no, like feminism's good because of this. And then he argues with them. And yeah, guess what? The majority of women don't consider themselves feminists. I think it's like something around like 7%. I've heard all kinds of numbers, anywhere from 3% to 10% of women consider themselves feminists. Like that's a that's an overall negative term, feminists amongst women. That's like a negative term. They avoid being called a feminist or having anything to do with feminism. So yeah, when you occasionally get a woman on there that's like pro feminism, you're gonna very easily be able to argue with her and make her look foolish. Like, she doesn't even know anything. She doesn't have the experience. There's no reason for her to know anything about any of these topics. So like you're accomplishing nothing. This isn't important content. It's not, and it's sometimes it's mildly entertaining. The most part it's not. It's not informative, and you're not a savior to these women or women viewers if they even exist. Like you have this weird savior complex that you, this 40-year-old man, will be the one to enlighten and change their perspective of these like 20-year-old women. It's so it's so obnoxious, and consuming that content will keep you in this negative atmosphere. These women that they have on there are like the most foolish, airheaded women they can possibly find. Think about it. Think about it, how they must find these women and get them on the podcast. It's basically just women who all they care about in their life at 20 years old or 19 or 21 years old, all their focus is, all the only reason they're there, the only thing they care about is getting more Instagram followers or whatever social media. Why would that type of person have this like well-reasoned argument or be ready to have a serious conversation about dating and like long-term relationships and marriages? Like, why would they even be beginning to think about that kind of stuff? It's so absurd. And just watch something like, there's tons of positive content out there where people have real conversations amongst adults, or they just are adults who have had experiences and make good points that are positive and forward focused, like Courtney Ryan, like Denmo. Watch those people who are positive and uplifting. Watch Shay Carl. That guy has been married for like decades at this point. He makes a lot of content throughout the years of him making content where he like talks about his marriage, talks about the struggles, talks about how much like how important it is to him, how his ultimate job in life is to be a father, and what led him to being a successful YouTuber, to taking a shot in the dark of being a YouTuber and then continuing with it. You see this man progress through it and through positivity make it to the absolute top, to where he helped found a company called Maker Studios that Disney bought for $550 million. I guarantee you, if you watch that, you will get so much out of it. There is so much, it's just like seething with positivity and feel good moments, right? As you see this man who, like, being a YouTuber wasn't even a thing, vlogging wasn't even a thing. This guy just did it. He clearly expected it to fail, but it didn't. And he just continued to be a good father, regardless of controversies that he's had. The very, like, he DM'd a cam girl a couple times. He's still a great father and a great person. Watch that. That will give you infinitely more. You could literally watch, if say this was like the Matrix and you could just download to where somehow you instantly watched everything that, like, Fresh and Fit, the whatever podcast, everything that those two podcasts and those creators, those people will ever say in their entire life from now until they're like old and in the ground. Everything they will ever say, you could, if you could just instantly have that, if you just watched the stuff that Shay Carl has uploaded at this point, not even the stuff that he will upload in the future or say in the future, you will get more from watching Shay Carl than watching those idiots.
Maybe it's content that's always blaming someone else for the problems instead of encouraging you to set your ego aside and take a look at yourself. This won't help your dating life or your relationships. It will only reinforce your negative beliefs. You know, being chronically negative or chronically positive aren't healthy. There is such thing as toxic negativity and toxic positivity.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You see these like nut bags, where toxic negativity, that's obvious, right? There's people where they're just always the victim. They're always the sad sack. Everything's always everyone else's fault. They're never responsible for anything, and everyone needs to be helping them at all times, or else, you know, no one cares about them, and poor me, and everyone else sucks, is this horrible person. They'll sit there and they'll say negative things about everyone all the time, but then like get butthurt the moment anyone says anything negative about them, and they're just, oh, they're such this sweet victim, yet they're the most awful person you've ever met in your life. And then yeah, there's people who get, it's like they don't even know what they're talking about with this positivity stuff. They just assume if you should just be positive at all times about everything, no matter what. No, that makes no sense. You can't have positivity without negativity. Like, negativity exists, it's real, it's funny, it can be very funny. Um, like, you need to be able to criticize yourself and others, or else you're just not accurately seeing the world. And there's people out there who are like completely delusional. I think about this life coach, this girl I kind of grew up with. She became a life coach and she posts about it on her social media, and it's kind of hilarious, as she is like the last person you would ever want to take advice from. Not that she's like a terrible person, she genuinely tries to uplift people, but and I don't feel like she's doing it in some manipulative way to try to make money and try to like scam people at all. She genuinely is a positive person, but at the same time, it's like you have nothing going on in your life. You're like this failed life coach who like, you're broke, you're living in a crappy apartment, you there's no reason for you to be like progressing in your life. You're overlooking all this important stuff. Like, embrace a little bit of negativity in your life so you can get some like real perspective and like direction in your life, which will ultimately give you more purpose than just trying to cram as much positivity as you can into yourself. Because things aren't always going to go well, and it's okay to not always have a positive outlook, right? Sometimes things are bleak, and the only way to get to that final outcome of positivity is existing in the negativity, is saying like, hey, things are bad, right? Like, financially, things are going to be terrible for basically everyone next year, unless you're like mega rich, unless you have diversified and you have multiple income streams and you're like, for some reason, going to be making more money next year, which isn't all that many people out there. Most of us, we're going to be in a worse financial position next year than we were this year. And that's scary and that's intense. And you can't just bury your head in the sand and be like, nope, I'm just going to be positive and things are just going to work out. Like, no, they ain't. Things aren't just going to magically turn around. All you can do is like embrace that negativity, be like, things are kind of doomed for a little bit. Hopefully they swing back around, but it ain't looking good. So all I can do is change my perspective and exist in that negativity and that positivity, being like, you know what, I'm not gonna starve. It blows, but I'm gonna have to get rid of this thing and this thing, and you know, things will eventually get better long term.
You need a balance. And balance is something that so much of the world is missing. And the negative voices are often the loudest. And keep in mind, there are plenty of wonderful people out there in lovely relationships who simply choose to protect their peace and keep it off of the internet, which is smart.
Oh yeah. Like, anybody who's smart is not posting anything personal at this point on any of their social media. Like, so many things get attached to people, and like crazy things that don't even make sense. You will randomly, like I said about, I mentioned Hassan Piker earlier in this video. Somebody like that, somebody like Vosh. Now, these are extreme examples of like decent sized content creators, but they're examples of the type of people where they'll be like, well, this person once interacted with this person who once interacted with this person who once said this one thing that could be considered like a neo-fascist whatever, so that makes this original person who by proxy who interacted with this person, that person, that makes them a certified fascist. They want to go back to World War II Germany, and like just the craziest conspiratorial connecting dots that don't connect, straw manning people into the pavement, just saying things that make zero sense, doing the most like mental gymnastics imaginable to come to the most absurd conclusion to try to dismiss others. It's so lame and pathetic.
And keep in mind, there are plenty of wonderful people out there in lovely relationships who simply choose to protect their peace and keep it off of the internet, which is smart.
Yeah, that's the part I wanted to go back to. Is it's smart. Yeah, like why would you ever risk having these connections made to your own self? To why would you interrupt your own peace by like engaging in this absolute nonsense you see online? And especially to put like your relationship details out there or stuff that's going on with you personally. The amount of times that people use information against other people, it's very often, and it's very ridiculous, and people will do it, and it's just better. You're just so much better off just not doing it. And it's so obvious that it's just dumb to still be really putting yourself out there, putting out your drama out there, airing any of your dirty laundry, or just simply putting out too much personal information, right? Because you can have all kinds of crazy stuff happen. You can have somebody like steal your identity, or like steal your identity in multiple ways. They could be like trying to scam you, trying to get your credit card, trying to, it could be them just trying to like catfish you, pretend to be you, say something insane online, or like harass somebody online and then try to blackmail you with that. I've heard of like actual blackmail scams happening to people. It's real stuff. It's out there. It's more than just what you see of the you know, the people calling grandma and saying you need to pay this bail money or your grandson's going to be going to prison. It's crazy stuff like that. It's a lot more pervasive than the really obvious examples, and it's out there, and it's just dumb. It's just dumb to be posting about yourself.
There are people who live a normal, private, peaceful life. You might not think that exists because you don't see it online. Maybe you've never seen it in your own life, or you've never personally experienced it, so you think it's not real. But as I said earlier in the video, I promise that it's real. I promise there are normal, balanced people out there.
Yeah, there's tons of people who are just chronically online, and it blows my mind that they don't even begin to consider that people posting online, they are probably putting out what they consider to be the best version of themselves. So they're posting that toxic negativity, right? Not that it's intentionally toxically positive, but they post only like the positive things, so it looks like they're constantly having fun and doing all this stuff and they have this great life, and really they don't. And it blows my mind that anybody out there doesn't consider that. They actually just perceive others around them as living the life that they're presented through freaking social media posts and pictures.
Out there. I think a lot of you who watch me are like that. Now, who's typically the loudest in the comment sections? The people who go to extremes. The people who are overly negative. It's just the way that it is, right? When I read through my comments and there's thousands of sweet, lovely, amazing comments, and there's a couple negative ones, which ones do I fixate on? The negative ones.
It's also because the negative ones, like, yeah, obviously you're gonna notice the ones that stick out more because they're crazy, but other people will too, like your viewers will, or just people seeing a comment thread. They're gonna see the outrageous, offensive, negative one that's being as like contradictory to the post of whatever it is, inflammatory, and they're going to end up replying to that comment more than any of the other comments because it's ridiculous. So they're going to tell them, hey, you're being ridiculous. But that's just going to cause that original ridiculous comment to get a lot more attention. It'll be at the top of the stack of comments because it's had so much engagement. Same thing with the videos that she's talking about. You're just going to get more engagement posting a very negative video.
That's human nature, right? So I get it. I'm guilty of it too. And I'm also not saying that there are perfect relationships by any means. Perfect doesn't exist. There will always be compromises that need to be made, tough conversations and conflicts that need to be resolved, etc. But a healthy relationship is able to do all of those things with empathy, with mutual respect, and the conscious effort to put in the work, because love is not just a feeling. Feelings are fleeting. Love is a choice, too.
Ooh, that's interesting, because my idol that I mentioned earlier. He says happiness is a choice. And it kind of goes completely hand in hand, right? Like you choose what you do, you choose what you choose to focus on and spend your time focusing on, right? I mean, some stuff you can't control it, right? You can't control whether you're depressed or anxious or worried about something, but you kind of can at the same time. Like, honestly, you can. Um, it requires a lot of focus and time to build that skill to be able to control what you decide you're going to allow to take up your time or not, right? It's not simple, it's not easy, but it is something you can kind of do where you can say, hey, these situations suck, but I'm not going to let them live rent free in my head. I'm going to evict them from my head and I'm going to focus on what is going to move me forward and be positive and lead to a happy outcome. How can I find the happiness? How can I choose the happiness? I would rather choose to have that happiness in my life than that sadness, that negativity, that toxicity. That's a tough choice to make. It's hard to even learn how to begin to make that choice on a day-to-day basis, but you can, man, you can.
There are a lot of people out there who do understand that. Although there are a lot of people who are, I believe, are not equipped with the skills to be in a healthy relationship, but there are a lot of people who are actively trying to work on that and heal themselves and grow and evolve so that they can be the partner that they seek, right? So
There are. It's just most of those, most of the, to be fair, I'm not trying to say anything by saying this, but most of those people are men.
a little homework assignment or something that I would really encourage all of you to do is to monitor who you're following or looking up to online. Take your role models seriously. Take the content you're consuming seriously.
And remember that it's just content, right? Like I don't love Shay Carl. I don't need him to be absolute perfection. He's just a YouTuber that I used to watch. His content has had a big impact on me and very largely positively affected my life. It has. But ultimately, I don't even agree with the guy on a lot of stuff. He's like really religious. I'm not. He has a lot of ideology that I do not agree with and never will, and that's fine. Like he's not my he's not personally in my life, and he doesn't even upload that much content anymore. He's been not uploading that much content for it, quite a long time, like maybe even 10 years at this point.
Because it impacts you far more than you might realize. And look at the screen time on your phone while you're at it, because that will shock you. It appalled me. You know, if you're someone watching right now who wants to be in a healthy relationship, I would say that maybe following guys or gals who are telling you that all women are trash or who are promoting hookup culture, that probably isn't the best type of person for you to be following.
Well, that depends on what you want. That is kind of the outcome that some people want, and that's fine if that's what you want, but you can't have that and also expect to get like a long-term relationship or like a marriage out of that hookup culture. But you're single, you want to like hook up with a bunch of people. Yeah, there's risks involved, but if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do.
Because that doesn't align at all with what you want or what you're looking for.
Well, I mean, like you said earlier about do men or women have it better in dating in modern society? A lot of men, that is what they're looking for, absolutely. So I mean, and maybe that is what people are looking for. Certain people, certainly.
Maybe you should instead follow people who are in healthy relationships. And of course, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. But I think we should stop assuming that good relationships don't exist, like she said. Or that if someone does look happy online, that it's fake. Not everyone is in drama. Not everyone is unhappy. Not everyone is depressed. Not everyone hates their life. Not everyone hates their partner. A lot of people are actually happy. And
I know, I know how she's feeling in that moment where it's like, it's true, it's real. I It's hard to convince people of that, but it's real.
Instead of assuming the worst all the time, maybe we should start following people who inspire us to see the best in things. And just
A lot of people don't even know what they would do with a relationship. Like I was saying with like, um, there was this guy recently who got interviewed for the involuntary celibate group. He was like a part of this group. The moment he got a girlfriend, he basically was exiled from the community. A lot of these people, guys like that, they just hate women and they never want a actual relationship. They'll never do anything to get a real relationship. They don't, deep down, that's not, they don't actually want that. On some level they do, but they also don't. But a lot of people out there who struggle with dating, whether it's men or women, they're gonna bomb it. Like as soon as they actually finally do get in a relationship, they're gonna do a really terrible job because they haven't even thought ahead to what kind of partner they're going to be, what kind of partner they ultimately truly want and will be able to like be with long term, and how to work towards those shared goals together and work on individual goals together, what that even means, what it means to be a part of a team. They haven't even started to consider these things. That's the reality check for a lot of these single men and women, is they're not remotely prepared to be in a relationship.
for the sake of spreading joy, if you're someone who's in a happy, healthy relationship, whether it be in the dating stages or you've been married for years and years and years, I would love for you to share your experience down in the comments. I would personally love to see some positivity and words of encouragement, and I'm sure some other people could really benefit from that as well.
All right, I'll go ahead. I've dated people who it didn't work out, right? Because that's just how dating works. Most times it doesn't work out. If you date a bunch of people, well, unless you're somehow still dating all of them, then basically all of them didn't work out for you, right? But even within that, there's still positivity within those experiences. There's still positives about those people, right? They have a lot of positive traits, whether it's they're really charitable or smart or funny or charming or whatever it is. Or and a lot of those people I've taken a lot from them, right? Or in terms of they've shown me ways to be like more charitable and more accepting and a better partner in general, right? So even when it fails, even when you struggle in life, it's always leading towards a more positive outcome. And I've experienced that. I've learned things from people I preach on this channel. The most valuable skill you will ever learn, can ever attain, obtain, is to learn how to be able to learn from other people's experiences, or just other people in general, just from other people's like words or perspectives. Oh my God. Because being able to do that will make every failure a win, no matter what.
Well. And I'll also be a little vulnerable and share this. I don't really share my relationship online because I like to keep things private, not secret. Most people know who my husband is, but just private. People can just be really cruel. You give people a little glimpse and they make all
Is it Hugh Jackman? I have a feeling it's Hugh Jackman.
these assumptions and they think that they know you from a short clip. And I've just decided to protect my peace. I value my privacy. But I think a big reason why I'm able to give the advice that I do to all of you is because of the wonderful and secure relationship that I have with my husband. And also because the better Courtney that I become, the better my relationship gets with my husband and with.
Oh my God, yes. 1,000 times yes. One of the best statements I've heard in a long time right there. So true, right? Like people will say these things like, you need to work on yourself. You need to be able to love yourself before you can love somebody else. Exactly. That's exactly true. The way she just said it is saying that, but in a way that's like more valuable, more direct, more real. Is the better, every improvement you can make on yourself will reflect on everyone around you. When you interact with any relationship you have, it will make it stronger. Because how could it not? You're becoming a more positive, effective, happy person. It's going to uplift everyone and everything around you. How could it possibly not, right? So do it. Do the work.
With everyone else in my life. And that's why I always tell you guys that it's really important to make sure that you're doing the work to be the partner that you seek. I really
Yes. Yes with a capital Y. Yes. Yes.
want the best for you guys, and so I wanted to share a little bit of positivity in the reaction video today. And again, I hope you all feel a little bit better now than when you got here. Good people and good relationships exist, healthy marriages exist. The world is not all bad. I know that's what is the loudest. I know that's probably what you see the most of, but it's not the full picture. Just a friendly reminder.
Yeah, of course.
Happy holidays. Love you guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments. If you liked this video or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop.
Definitely hit like and subscribe to Courtney Ryan. My favorite YouTuber as of late. Just awesome. Giving people good advice that's actually useful. It's important because it does positively affect people. And I love that. I love everything about this video. Keep it up. You're doing great. You're going to have a great 2024. Courtney Ryan and anyone watching, because you actually care about this stuff, right? Like, it's not just me who like watches this kind of stuff and gets positive stuff out of it. It's you. It's you right there sitting at your computer or looking at your phone or playing a video game while you listen to this. You are willing to improve, or else you wouldn't care about this kind of content. You wouldn't engage with it. So you're getting a lot out of it. And you yourself, maybe it'll be in small doses, but you'll be able to interact with people and become more positive and spread that positivity. And you're just going to be awesome. You're just going to be a better person no matter what, without even really necessarily having to try. Even just a little bit, even by accident, subconsciously, unintentionally. Even if you don't even do any work from this point, just like being willing to like listen to positivity and different perspectives is going to improve your perspective and your positivity. So I don't know, keep Frosty there, Frosty the Snowman. Have a good Christmas and a good New Year. Peace out.